Everyone is ready. I'll count her down in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Community Services Committee meeting. I am the chair, Chris Thiessen, and I'm joined today with committee members Wendy Bosch, Grant Berg, and, of course, Mayor Jackie Clayton. To start off today, we'll call the meeting to order, and first item of business is a delegation. Item 2.1, the Grande Prairie Youth Emergency Shelter Society. I'll call Miss Tanya Wald up to the front, and we'll see her here. Welcome.
Morning. This is strange. Right? Excited to be in person. It's been a while. So I'm going to keep my presentation relatively brief because I know there's some that are really familiar with the work, some maybe a bit less. So just wanted to allow this opportunity for questions. I know historically these were 5-minute or less. So I step up this year. Good morning. My name is Tanya and I'm the executive director over at Sunrise House, which you all know is our youth shelter serving youth between the ages of 12 and 17 who are either currently homeless or at risk of becoming homeless. The City of Grande Prairie funding is for our operational dollars, which primarily supports our staff, as well as some programming costs as well. So we work with youth basically across the whole spectrum of kids, from kids that are struggling at home, just need a little bit of extra support, parents need a little bit of extra support. We have a family support worker who works directly with parents to get those kids home very quickly, and then that goes right up the spectrum to youth who are either actively homeless, maybe in active addiction, or struggling with mental health. Over the last year, one of our challenges from the year before is spun into one of the key focuses in the last year, which is our relationship with community policing. So at the start of COVID, we lost that team.
Thanks,
Okay.
Councillor O'Connor.
Are we good now? Okay. Ooh. All right. So our community policing came back on board towards the end of last year. So that's really important for us because they come in and do safety presentations, they come in and do training for our staff, and then the relationship that they build with our kids, and it's particularly our kids who tend to be more actively higher risk, that relationship becomes really important. So having that team back on board is really great and really exciting. Over the past year, we saw over 120 intakes, which was a stark increase from the year prior, back to sort of more normal numbers for us, and over 1,400 bed nights. So we were extremely busy, continuing to work at decreased capacity. So normally would be at 12 beds. Currently we're at 8 plus 1 bed for isolation. And we have been relatively full, and particularly since October, we have been almost every night either at capacity, one or the other, or at full capacity for the building. Got me all over the place now. Some of our other key results includes the community piece. So low barrier access for all of our youth. So there is no reason too great or too small for them to access our services. We pride ourselves on inclusion, diversity, being trauma-informed, and working from a harm reduction lens, and just incorporating different cultural components both within our training as well as just within our facility as a whole. Really all of our work really stems back to just that relationship with all of our kids and making sure that they know that they have a safe place to turn. I always tell my staff, if anything, if a youth comes in, if they stay with us for one night, and that one night they had a sense of safety and a sense of warmth, we've done our job. And that's really where we focus, and where our frontline staff, which is the part where you support, is so critical to them, and making sure that all of our kids know that they have that warm, safe place to turn whenever they need us. So over the last 3 years, we have not had a night not open, and we've pushed through. Probably our biggest challenge last year was within our staffing. We saw, which everybody saw, a lot of tired and increase in burnout. So we did a lot of work as a team, and we came out with a whole new set of values that our staff really live and work by. And we're really going into this year, I think, stronger than ever, and had pretty low turnover despite that burnout and fatigue. But we are pushing forward strong as a team, as an agency, and so I know I had more, but I got a little bit. But happy to answer any questions anybody would have about any of our programs and services.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Ms. Wald. I wasn't disappointed by your presentation at all. I know you're throwing in all the good highlights there, and I'm sure we might have a question or two to fill in where we might have missed out on the presentation. I see Councillor Blackmore, then Councillor Bosch, and Mayor Clayton.
No, perfect. I just wanted to let Councillor Bosch know that Councillor Thiessen can't see the queue. Thanks.
Okay, we'll take you off the list then. So Councillor Blackmore.
I don't have a question, Ms. Wald, but I wanted to congratulate you, because I noticed that on your revenue, you have just scantly over a third of your money coming from traditional government sources, and the rest is fundraised in grants that you're applying for. And having worked in nonprofits, I know what a challenge that is. So I just wanted to congratulate you on your revenue stream. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Councillor Blackmore. Councillor Bosch.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. Thank you for coming in, Ms. Wald. I was just going to ask you a question about your revenue streams, just because I'm curious. And, you have the government and then fundraising in the blue. So your big chunk is gray, which is other. Can you explain, what that is?
So that's really a combination of community grants, donations. Yeah, it's a whole mix. There wasn't really a breakdown within for me to really break it out in a lot of detail. But some of it is funding we received back in terms of wage subsidies. Some of it we received some of the emergency dollars last year, but largely a lot of our corporate donors were able to stay on board and provide some funding to us, and then just community donations and.
Okay.
Sorry, it's a whole.
No, I saw fundraising and then I saw other, and I didn't know what that meant. But
okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Good job.
Hey, thank you, Ms. Bosch. I've got Mayor Jackie Clayton in the queue.
Thanks, Chairman Thiessen. Ms. Wold, so would it be fair to say that the fundraising is specific campaigns you're doing, and the other is everything else?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I see Councillor Berg.
Yeah, you were talking about fundraising. Do you want to take this opportunity to promote Big Hearts?
Oh man, scared to say it. So we do have Big Hearts for Big Kids coming back this year on April 2nd. So excited, and with everything lifting, it actually means we'll be able to do the full event. So it is busy behind the scenes getting that up and running, because there's a lot of unknowns even still just going into the new year. But Tennille is ready to come home and bring all of her amazing people with her, and yeah, it's going to be exciting. So we should be announcing lineups, and all of that should be coming out shortly. We expect it to sell out as always, and yeah, I'm excited.
So am I. Thank you.
So excited. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm scanning the rest of council. I don't see any hands shooting up or anybody waving or throwing stuff at me. So Ms. Wald, looks like you're off the hook from the line of questioning. But thank you for coming in today.
Thanks very much.
Presentation. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Awesome. So moving right along, there was a couple in-camera items that we need to talk to before we move on with the meeting. So I'll look for a motion to go in camera. Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair Thiessen. I would move that we go in camera.
Right, that motion is in order, and I'm sure it'll pass. And it does, unanimously. All right, we'll see you all online in just a little bit. We're going to move in camera now. Thank you. our acting Community Services Director, Ms. Stephanie Cajolet, for the Director Service Area Report.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. So for Community Knowledge Campus, Family Day celebrations had both ice surfaces at the Coca-Cola Center fully booked for family skate and stick and puck, with over 300 participants attending. And the East Link Center Family Swim and Facility activities welcomed over 2,500 participants that weekend. In events and entertainment, Sportsnet announced its 2022-23 Pinty's Grand Slam of Curling season schedule. The Hearing Life Tour Challenge will be in Grande Prairie, October 18th to 23rd of this year, and that will take place at the Coca-Cola Center. Also in events and entertainment, Better Than Fred's has been awarded the RFP for food and beverage service at Bonnet's Energy Center. For corporate facilities, concession upgrades have started at Bonnet's. The animal shelter project is now complete, and the team is also working on completing drywall repairs at the art gallery due to some a roof leak during some high snow load and a warm weather event. In Fleet, 2 replacement graders for transportation arrived last week, and they will go into service later this week, so that's exciting. In sports development, wellness, and culture, the recreation and culture strategy engagement began with coded access surveys arriving in mailboxes the week of February 22nd. We conversed with the consultant yesterday, and to date, over 500 responses have been received to that. The 2023 Community Group Enhancement Funding applications are now open until April 22nd, and that will allow for grants up to $14,999. The online registration for city programs will be unavailable from March 7th to 10th to allow for an update to the booking system. Residents can still book activities such as public splash and play or a squash court via 311 or by visiting the facility in person. All of the spring programs will also open earlier in March, so it will allow residents an opportunity to book those before this downtime. And we certainly appreciate the public's patience as we take the time to complete these upgrades to better serve the community. Transit has been working with the Philip J. Curry Dinosaur Museum, and they will be offering accessible customers an opportunity to spend an afternoon at the museum with free transportation, admission, and a guided tour to that facility. So it'll take place beginning in mid-March with a couple of dates in early April. And that is the end of my report.
Thank you very much, Director Cajolet. I see Mayor Clayton in the queue.
Thanks so much, Chair Thiessen. Ms. Cajolet, 2 things. Can you tell me, if you can tell me, because I know it's a legal contract, the start date for Better Than Fred's at Bonnet's Energy Center?
Thank you, through the chair. So they have begun providing service already. And
I was there on the weekend. I noticed the signage still says Crystal Catering, so I was curious.
So my understanding in speaking with the manager of that area is that they'll be doing a more formal announcement in the coming weeks, and it will include signage updates.
And my second one was, can you remind me of the work that was done at the animal shelter?
Certainly. So that project consisted of some alterations to the building, a new parking lot, and a new sewer tank to alleviate drainage issues.
Thank you.
Thank you for your questions, Mayor Clayton. I actually was at the Crystal Center, aka Bonnet's Energy Center, yesterday for the Storm Awards night, and John was there in full force with the catering and talking about the contract there too. So happy for him and a local business getting an opportunity to provide good service out of one of our facilities. So, Councillor Burke.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Thiessen. Ms. Cajolet, regarding the art gallery and the drywall repairs, I'm assuming that area is closed while the repairs are being done. Can you be more specific as to how big or how many galleries are closed, if that's the case?
Ms. Cajolet.
Thank you, through the chair. So my understanding is that it is just in a portion of the gallery towards the back where they would normally have their their permanent exhibit, but I can get some more details on that and provide that. So my understanding is that particular hallway is closed, but the rest of the facility remains open.
Wonderful, thank you.
Looking around the chamber, I see no other hands going up. So Director Cajolet, looks like you're off the hook right now. We'll move this agenda along to item 3.2, grant recommendation, and to the lady sitting right next beside you, Miss Katie Bieberdorf.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. The Community Advisory Committee met on February 23rd to review a number of grant applications. For Pursuit of Excellence funding, 8 applications were received and all met the criteria. A few adjustments were made to recommendations based on maximum allowable amounts for travel funding, and 2 applicants specifically are traveling internationally, so that's exciting. For festival funding, we had 1 application for the International Street Performers Festival, and they are recommended to receive the full $14,000. For large-scale tourism funding, we received 3 applications. The East Coast Garden Party has met all criteria and they requested $100,000. However, the maximum allowable grant for this is $50,000, which is recommended for this group. The Odyssey House Grande Con event also met all the criteria, but the funding guidelines indicate that funding recommendations are based on budgeted deficit or surplus, and this event is budgeted at $75,000 surplus, so funding was not recommended. And lastly, the Buck Wild event was not recommended for funding as reporting requirements for 2021 funding have not been met. So administration is recommending approval of grant funding in the amounts outlined in the report for a total of $6,800 in Pursuit of Excellence, $14,000 for festivals, and $50,000 for large-scale tourism. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bieberdorf. Now I have Councillor Bosch who was tapping me on the shoulder, so I'll let her make her announcement.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. I need to remove myself due to perceived conflict as I sit on one of the committees.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Bosch. Yes, in regards to the Street Performers Festival and being co-chair, thank you for that. Councillor Lainers, then Councillor Bressie.
Yeah, I'm just curious. So that condition for the Grand Con or whatever it is, the Odyssey House one. So is the press or requirement that without this they're not going to make any money? Like if they're already budgeting a surplus without it, they can't qualify. This needs to kind of bring them over the line. Is that what this funding is for?
Ms. Bieberdorf.
Thank you, through the chair. So the funding is meant to support the event, not necessarily generate a surplus, which is how it's written in the policy. So we wouldn't recommend funding if there's a surplus generated. So out of the $75,000 surplus, 50 of that would have been from the grant specifically.
Thank you, Councillor Lainers. Councillor Bressie.
Thank you. I've got some comments to make about Odyssey House to committee maybe in a bit, but a question related to that is, I guess a 2-part question is, for other events, do we allow them to pay executive director or a head promoter or something like that out of their budget? Is one question. Then my other question is, did the Odyssey House application have anything like that in their financials?
Ms. Bieberdorf.
Thank you for the question. Most of the groups that are putting on these events do have paid staff. We will see some that don't have paid staff. It just kind of depends on the group and what they're applying for. I would have to take a look at the application though to answer your other question, if you could give me a couple minutes to do that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for the questions. I have Mayor Clayton in the queue, but I have a question as well, also in regards to Odyssey House Grand Con. As far as I'm concerned, or as far as my knowledge is concerned, I guess, they've been trying to get this off the ground for almost 2 years for a first-year event. They used to host it through the library, and it was pretty small, but then it was getting a little too big for its britches, and people are coming from all over the region. Do you think that perhaps, like in their budgeting, well, actually, no, I'll just ask a more direct question. Do they already have established funders in place that they acknowledged in their grant?
Thank you. Sorry, I'm just flipping through paper here really quickly. Just to go back to the other question too, just looking at their expenses, there is nothing in here about staffing expenses, Councillor Bressie, just to answer your question. And then I'm just looking to confirm their other funders, which I believe are in this other document, because they have been working on this event for quite some time. I believe they tried to put it on in 2020 as well. They have a $50,000 goal for sponsorship that is listed in here, and sorry, I'm going to have to keep digging to get your other information.
Well, that's okay. And the reason why I actually asked that question, Ms. Bieberdorf, is because I'm not sure who wrote the grant or whatnot, but sometimes we budget what we wish to attain rather than the old classic zero budget that we're just going to break even. And I'm wondering if that may have something to do with it, and also if from administration side, if they already had a bunch of sponsors lined up and we're just going to add to the surplus with this. I can see 100% why this would come across as zero. But without having all the knowledge, part of me is just thinking that this is an optimistic budget and what they maybe wanted to come out with, and maybe not intending to get the surplus through the grant funding. Yeah, I have Mayor Clayton, and then I have Councillor Laners and Councillor Burke.
I'm going to wait because I'll wait and see Ms. Bieberdorf's answers before I have my other question. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Clayton. Councillor Laners.
Yes, so Ms. Bieberdorf, I'm just curious, in this fund that we have for this type of event, how much is remaining in the fund, and how much do we expect to come in still for the rest of that budget cycle for this fund?
Ms. Bieberdorf.
Thank you, through the chair. So the budget is $100,000 for the year, and there's only one intake. This is the only application timeline for the whole year. So if we approve the one at 50,000, we would still have 50,000 remaining.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'm kind of, I'm kind of leaning towards the fact that most of these people are volunteers, are not getting paid anyway, and you know, Odyssey House is something that we're probably funding through another event or another way or means. So it's not like this money is still going to go, if we gave them some money, it's still going to go to that association to do the work that we value in the community. It's not going to go for someone to go on a trip to Cancun. Not that that's, you know, but if you're taking those risks, then that's fine. But these people aren't taking the risk for themselves; they're taking the risk for a community event. So I would lean towards giving them something, maybe $25,000 or something like that. So we'll see how that works in terms of motions or revisions or whatever. But I'll leave it at that for now, or unless I make that motion right now. Can't make a motion. No, I can't make that motion anyway. So.
And just for the record, all this will be forwarded to council, so we have opportunities to discuss, debate, and amend the decisions made at this committee next Monday. So there's an opportunity for that, but I like the way you're thinking, Mister. Councillor, oh, actually, I'm going to go to Mayor Clayton. Sorry, Councillor Berg. She had a scrunched up face, which meant she really wanted to talk.
Oh, great. Ms. Bieberdorf, I have a couple of things. Can you tell me or remind council, Bear Creek Folk Fest, their funding carried over from last year, and how much?
Thank you, through the chair. Yes, they had applied for funding in 2020. Last year, they utilized festival funding of $14,000 to put on their smaller events, so they're still working on their 2020 funding for this year, and they received $50,000.
So they have $50,000 that will be executed in 2022.
Correct.
So my other question, back to the Odyssey House Grand Com, I think it's called, the Comic-Con or whatever. Are they not intended to make a surplus? Like, isn't everything they surplus going to Odyssey House?
Yes, through the chair, that's correct. It's meant to be a fundraising event.
So, but however, your community granting committee still saw that as a negative?
It was just based on the policy guidelines that indicate a budgeted surplus may not be considered for funding.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Welcome.
I have another question, but I'm going to grant Mr. Councillor Berg has been very patient, so I'll let him ask us.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. So 2 questions. Is that the final deadline for this grant, Ms. Bieberdorf?
Yes.
I guess my second question then, is there an opportunity for Grand Con to come to us for sponsorship dollars outside of this grant?
Through the chair, yes. I don't see why they couldn't come and approach council for funds later on once they've determined a more definite budget.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so I saw Mayor Clayton's hand go up. I think she has the answer that I might provide too.
Remind me, Ms. Bieberdorf, their request for Grand Com was 25 or 50?
Through the chair, they requested 50,000.
Okay, and so when you evaluated the East Coast Garden Party, it was based on the last time they operated, which was 2018 approximately?
When we evaluate them, we look at their budgeted amount for the event, and if they come in as a break even, then we would recommend the funding, and also based on them meeting the requirements of previous funding that they've received.
Okay, so something for council's consideration. In that policy, there may be a little bit of a concern. I do believe that the intent of the Grand Com as a fundraiser for Odyssey House is a good event. I'm looking to amend the motions as there, that the large-scale tourism funding to the Grand Com in the amount of $25,000.
Okay, so that motion is up for discussion or debate. So I guess I'll just chip in first with just one quick question. Ms. Bieberdorf, if there was no surplus indicated in the budget of the Grand Con and they just zeroed out, as in they're going to break even, would that have sort of reversed the committee's decision and administration's decision on awarding grants?
Thank you for the question. Yes, if it would have been a budgeted zero event, then we would have recommended funding.
Well, thank you. So then I guess speaking to the motion, this is kind of the outcome that I was hoping for coming in here today. As chair, I don't have a say to make a motion, not here and not at council unless I ask someone to overtake the chair for me. But I do think this is a good motion, and I do think this is exactly what this fund is intended for, is large-scale tourism events, new events, and giving them the legs to run. This one's taken it to another step further by joining forces with the Odyssey House to support them in the excellent work that they do for women and children in our community. And you know, it's my hope and prayer that this event will be very successful. And I'd hate to cut off one of their legs right at the beginning. And so I really appreciate the motion by Mayor Clayton and the suggestion by Councillor Laners to award $25,000, and I'll look for other discussion and debate.
Sorry, just a point of order, Chair Thiessen. It's an amendment to the existing motion unless anybody had intended to break out each item. So it would just be an amendment to the committee recommend council approve funding allocation in the following amounts. The amendment we would vote on would be large-scale tourism funding to the Odyssey House Grand Con, the amount of 25.
Awesome. Thanks for no apologies necessary. Thanks for chipping in, Ms. Van Beekveld. I was sort of under the same impression as well. There's no wrong answers here, but there's still room for discussion. And seeing no hands shooting up, I will call the motion to question. And that motion passes, and I have Councillor Blackmore in the queue.
I cannot make a motion at this committee, but I think that perhaps we need to have a look at the policy, have it brought forward, and maybe it needs some tightening up so that we don't have this discussion with another grant in a later time. So I don't know if that needs to be a motion or just direct administration to bring that policy forward for review.
Yeah, and I appreciate the suggestion, and this is a relatively new funding stream that we've created. It's less than 2 terms old, so I would probably prefer to get a motion to bring that forward. So any members from committee, but I have Councillor Berg in the queue.
Yeah, I'll make the motion that Councillor Blackmore had just suggested, that we review this policy to potentially close or fix that loophole, I guess, for lack of a better word.
And or any other things, quirks or perks that we might have. So I believe the motion was to bring back the large-scale tourism funding to the next appropriate in the future for review. Period. Thanks, Councillor Berg. Okay. See some discussion there, but I'll call to question. And that motion passes. Thank you very much for the team effort, Councillors Blackmore and Burke. Yeah, congratulations to sending this forward to council at least. Any further discussion on this? Seeing none, we'll just move right along. And we have a correspondence from the Alberta Minister of Culture, item 4.1, in regards to I guess, sports tourism and the Alberta Winter Games, and I'll allow Mayor Clayton to speak to this.
Sure. Thank you for that, Chair Thiessen. I'm happy to refer to administration for comments. As you'll see in your package, a letter was received, sent to myself, inviting us to submit a bid for either the 2024 Winter or Summer Games. Obviously, the Ministry of Culture is excited to get people back into sport competition and highlight communities. I did look, personally, I looked on the website. 2023 has now been put in Fort McMurray. It was a carryover from previous years. And summer for 2023 is Okotoks. If council had consideration of putting forward to administration to work with the public to form a bid committee, my suggestion would be that it actually would be summer, because typically the games don't host twice in the north and then the south, and winter being 2023 in Fort McMurray. That being said, we were actually the last summer games host of a games that happened. So, I mean, these letters go out on a regular basis to multiple communities. However, I'm the first person to put my hand up and say we should host as much as possible. So more looking for discussion. If anybody has interest of providing direction to administration for future discussion, to see if there is, you know, through conversations with Sport Connection or user groups, nonprofit organizations, if there's interest in the community, then that would be the direction I would suggest. Thanks.
Well, thanks for that, Mayor Clayton. I saw Councillor Burke.
Yeah, so I guess my question is around funding. It looks like the province is willing to fund at $420,000. Based on the last time we hosted one, what was the overall cost to the city? Do you recall, or does anybody know?
Yeah, I'll turn that to Ms. Casulet or Ms. Bieberdorf.
All right, Ms. Bieberdorf.
Thank you, through the chair. So in 2018, it was about $300,000 cash between the city and the county, and about $230,000 gift in kind between all facilities and school facilities that are used for accommodations.
Thank you.
Excellent. I have Councillor O'Toole.
Thank you very much. I would feel that it would be in best suited to do the summer games. We're uncertain about Nighthawks ski lifts and stuff like that. I don't know what their certainty is, but we should inquire with them and find out what they're doing and how things are going out there before we put our name in the hat for the winter games.
So I'm going to turn it over to Councillor Berg first, and then I'll look to administration, because Councillor Berg is our Nighthawk representative, and you might have an update on that.
Yeah, so they've got the T-bar lift up and running, and so that's, as far as we know, everything is good and normal and functioning as good as it can. So I think that, you know, there might be some long-term goals of possibly getting a chairlift again, but for right now it is fully functional.
Right, and I will just look to administration to see if they have anything to add on that in regards to winter or summer.
Thank you, through the chair. Ms. Bieberdorf has connected with several of our community partners, so I would turn it over to her to provide some information for council consideration.
Thank you, Director Cazalet. Ms. Bieberdorf.
Thank you. So Sport Connection has already done some preliminary work to reach out to our community groups. A lot of the winter sports have actually expressed interest in participating, since they haven't had a chance to participate in the games since 2010. And Mayor Clayton, I don't want to correct you, but I will just correct you for a second, because the 2023 games are actually just the Arctic Winter Games. There is no Alberta Winter Games, so the 2024 would be actually the first Winter Games that have been held since 2018. So there is quite a bit of interest to host winter, and Sport Connection's opinion is that it will be much easier to find volunteers to do Winter Games than a Summer Games, and there could be significant opportunity for Nighthawk to apply for grants as a legacy piece of hosting a Winter Games.
Thank you very much.
Great to hear. I saw it on their website that they were hosting the Alberta Winter Games, not the Arctic. So, yeah, good to hear.
That is good to hear. And when we talk about potential concern for the hill and Nighthawk, legacy grants might go a long way to helping them refurbish that chairlift and maybe stabilize the slope as well. Just my personal opinion, but if I was going to lean to one or the other, I would actually lean to the winter, because we are dubbing ourselves as the Winter City. We have our big winter festival that we just had here that we could possibly tie into it. And based off of what Ms. Bieberdorf said, I share the same opinion that it's likely easier to get volunteers in the winter time than it would be in the summer. And I know Councillor Bressy volunteered real hard during that one. He put in lots of hours, so did Councillor O'Toole, and probably many other members that I'm omitting here just from my poor memory of age. But yeah, that's where my leaning would go, and I'm in full support of the city proceeding with a bid if that's what council chooses to do. I have Councillor Berg for another comment, and then Councillor Laners.
Yeah, so you had, thanks, Chair Thiessen. You'd mentioned the financial split with the county, so I'm assuming that was a joint bid. And as we talk about Nighthawk, are we exploring potential partners with the MD and the county as well in early talks?
Through the chair. So the county has received a letter to bid as well. It went through their council last week, and they had just received it for information and asked the city to come back to them if we chose to move forward with the bid. In past years, we've sent letters to all of the neighboring municipalities to join us in bidding on the event, but typically one municipality fills out all the paperwork and completes all of that part.
Thank you.
Thanks for that, Ms. Bieberdorf. Councillor Laners.
Yeah, I like the idea of winter games. We just hosted the summer games, and if we hosted it again, people will think there's something wrong with the summer games. They can't get anybody else to do it, when that's not the fact. The fact is that we do a great job of winter, and I think that with that, your notion of getting some granting at Nighthawk might make sense. So I think I'd be in support of a winter application. Probably not so much a summer one, because we just did it.
Great, thanks for those comments, Councillor Laners. I have Councillor Boss for another question.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. I'm just curious, what does it cost to put a bid in all in when we're sending the applications on our part and as a whole?
Ms. Bieberdorf.
Thank you, through the chair. In previous games, small scale games such as this one, it was about $5,000. Larger scale games like the Arctic Winter Games, it was significantly more. Most of the work can be done administratively and then receiving letters of support through sport organizations. So it's only a 20-page document, so it's not massive. So we should be able to do it for fairly inexpensive.
Perfect time for the Winter Games as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Councillor Boss. Looking around, any further questions or comments? Councillor O'Toole.
Yeah, no, I'm okay with having the winter games here. I was just uncertain about some of the facilities, so that's all. And like was said, maybe there's going to be some funding money there to do some improvements to the hill with that money. So, thank you.
All right, so great discussion. I don't see any more hands coming up, and I'm getting a little dry. Maybe I've been talking too much here. I'm not sure. So I'll look for a motion to proceed forward. Mayor Clayton.
So I would like to make a motion that committee recommend council to put together a community group and work for administration to put together a bid in conjunction with community volunteers. I don't know if that's as clear as mud, I think, but it's basically a motion to go forward from committee to council to put, in conjunction with community volunteers, to put together a bid for the 2024 Alberta Winter Games.
Okay, so clean or not, that motion's in order. And of course, it's just sending this to council so we can all have this discussion a little bit more further come Monday. So I'll call to question unless there's any comments or otherwise. Seeing none, we'll call to question. I know I still have to vote. I was just, yeah. It was a messy motion. Okay, and our city clerk here for the committee meetings said that she will reword after for council, so it's very clear when we speak to it on Monday. Thank you very much for that. Thanks for the discussion. Thanks for the answers, administration. Moving right along, no other business or review for bylaws and policies, so we'll move right to the outstanding items list, and to that, I'll turn it right back to Director Cazalet.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. All of the items on the outstanding items list are scheduled to proceed as the date proposed, so administration has no changes.
Right, thank you very much. I see Councillor Burke.
Yeah, I would like committee to receive the March 1st, 2022 outstanding items list as presented for information.
Awesome, thank you very much. That motion's in order. Call to question. And that motion passes. And with that, we are adjourned for this meeting. I don't know how long we'll need for the next, maybe 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 5, 10. I saw you do that twice. Anyways, so 5 minutes. We'll see you back in 5 minutes, everyone. Thanks.